Welcome to my channel. So I have been challenged to sum up my understanding of John Vervaeke's 4 P's of knowing. I'm sorry if I botch this. I'm not used to reading out essays, so I'm going to do my best. Okay. In what follows, I'm just going to give you my understanding of what John Vervaeke's 4 P's of knowing are. And that was much more difficult than I thought it was going to be at first. Part of why it's difficult is that it seems to me that Vervaeke presents us with a web of terms and ideas, and it's up to each of us to try to ease inside of that particular web. In what follows, I'm going to attempt to lay out Vervaeke's 4 ways of knowing, with the caveat that nearly everything that follows has been taken from one or other of Vervaeke's videos. That said, anything I've gotten wrong is completely on me. So I'm just going to list the 4 ways of knowing, and then I will say something about each and about how each is insufficient, and that will lead from one way of knowing into another way of knowing, or at least that is my goal. The 4 P's are, first, propositional knowing, procedural knowing, perspectival knowing, and participatory knowing. I'll go over each of these in turn. So first, propositional knowing, or knowing that. Propositional knowledge is, more or less, the kind of knowledge that we get from science. Science seeks out new theories and is pretty good at generating them. Propositional knowing is about what is true and false. As far as that goes, it's fine. It's wonderful. We have been able to land a spacecraft on the moon. And also we have cellular phones, and we have the World Wide Web, and we have so many things that are thanks to science. So, anyway, going back to the propositional part of propositional knowing, the sky is blue and gold is a metal are propositions, and they are true. However, even with all that, propositional knowledge is incomplete and inadequate. In his article, Lost Ways of Knowing, Alexander Boehner, I'm probably slaughtering that, B-I-N-E-R, notes that Ian McGilchrist's analysis of the left hemisphere is pertinent in this context. We often can't see the forest for the trees. Although it is perhaps not directly related to this conversation, I'm reminded of something Vervaeke mentioned in one of his Awakening from the Meaning Crisis lectures. I think it was one of the early ones. Socrates noted that we want to know not only about what is true, but about what is good. That said, in order to have propositional knowledge, I have to know how to question. But propositional knowledge isn't adequate unto itself, if I can put it like that. In order to have propositional knowledge, I have to know other things. For instance, I have to know how to question. I have to know how to adaptively seek out relevant information from the environment. But in order to do this, I must have procedural knowledge. And that's the second kind of knowing. Procedural knowing is knowing how to do something. For example, knowing how to ride a bike, knowing how to throw a ball, knowing how to crochet. As it happens, I crochet and can tell you that it is all about learning to keep the proper tension on the yarn. Too tight, and I will struggle to make even one stitch, and my work will be more like brick than cloth. Too loose, and my work will have holes in it, and it will be difficult to keep the yarn on the hook. Anyway, crochet is one of the many things in life that are simple, but not easy. Propositionally, crochet is simple. After learning only 2 stitches, the chain stitch and the single crochet stitch, I could, in theory, complete many projects. But it takes a lot more than knowing these 2 stitches. One needs to know how to use one's fingers, one's arms, to make them correctly, to make them well. And that takes time, and it takes practice. Procedural knowledge is not about what is true or false, what is the case or what is not the case. It is about learning a skill, one that allows us to interact with a particular environment in a beneficial way. So what is it that this kind of knowing produces? Recall that propositional knowing produced truth and falsity. What does procedural knowing produce? Vervaeke's answer is that it produces power. But notice that if I am going to use or acquire a skill, that I need situational awareness. I need to be aware of what skills I should be applying in a particular context. I am skilled at crochet, but it would be inappropriate were I to begin crocheting in the middle of, say, meditation, or if I tried to crochet without any yarn. In these cases, my practice would not be, in Vervaeke's words, adaptively fitted to the context I am in. I need a situational awareness in order to know which skills to apply and which skills to acquire. I need to know what it is like to be here, now, in this state of mind. This leads us to the third kind of knowing, perspectival knowing. Perspectival knowing is what it is like to be here, now, in this state of mind. It is in this context that Vervaeke talks about salience landscaping. Vervaeke explains that salience is how things stand out. Things are constantly shifting in how they stand out to us. If something is salient to me, it will be foregrounded. If it isn't, it will be backgrounded. If I understand Vervaeke correctly, and I'm not sure I do, the goal of salience landscaping is to foreground certain things and background other things in an effort to get an optimal grip on some particular aspect of one's environment so that one can interact with it well. When we do this well, we are said to have situational awareness, and that, Vervaeke tells us, is what perspectival knowing is. In his article, Lost Ways of Knowing, Bernier writes the following of perspectival knowledge. To the shaman, an owl may not be an owl, but a living embodiment of a spirit that has something to teach her. I am also reminded of what Ian McGilchrist said about a mountain he can see from his home on the Isle of Skye. It has a name that escapes me at the moment. This mountain can be many things, depending upon what one is interested in. A geologist may see it as something that has formed a certain way. A photographer may see it as something indescribably beautiful. A local person may see it as a spiritual place. One thing can be many things for many different people, depending upon how they approach it, how they view it. Does that make sense? I hope it does. In any case, Vervaeke notes that perspectival knowing is situational awareness. The vehicle of perspectival knowing is not a proposition, it is a perspective. But we do not have perspectives as much as we are constantly enacted and embedded within a perspective. And if everything is going well, I get something that Vervaeke calls optimal grip. So what is the sense of realness within perspectival knowing? Vervaeke denies that it is, as in propositional knowing, a sense of truth, and it is not, as in procedural knowing, a sense of power. So what is it that people seek when they want a sense of realness within perspectival knowing? Vervaeke's answer? They seek a sense of presence. That is, they desire a sense that I am present in that world and that world is present to me. They seek a sense of embeddedness within that world. When this happens, when this sense of embeddedness occurs, I have an optimal grip within my current environment, my current situation. Finally, this brings us to participatory knowing, the deepest kind of knowing, and the kind of knowing that the other three depend on and are built up from. Vervaeke holds that this kind of knowledge is not knowing that, propositional knowledge, it is not knowing how, procedural knowledge, it is not knowing what it is like, perspectival knowledge, it is knowing by being a particular kind of agent in a particular kind of arena. So let's say a bit more about this fourth way of knowing. Participatory knowing is the most difficult of the three types of knowledge to both understand and explain. And by saying that, I do not mean to suggest that I have anything like a firm understanding of this concept. In the following, I rely heavily on Vervaeke's video, My Best Recent Talk, as I have for the entirety of this video. I'm leaving out a lot of things here, but I'm trying to give a summary of this idea, not a full explication of it. So, this is Vervaeke's example. Imagine I'm holding a cup. I can grasp the cup because there has been a long process of niche construction, such that through speciations, I have developed my hand and especially my opposable thumb so that I can grasp tools. Then culture shapes matter, the cup, and it trained me so that I can drink from a cup. And we can't drink from a cup when we're 5 months old. And then I have my sensory motor loop that is giving me the optimal grip so that I can grasp the mug and take a drink from it. Vervaeke then asks, where is the graspability of this? Is the graspability in the mug? No. If it were just in the mug, that anything could grasp the mug, but that's not the case. A fly could not grasp the mug. A cat could not grasp it. But does that mean that the graspability of the mug is in my hand alone? No. My hand could not grasp a greased bottle or the filament in my lamp. Those two are my examples. I was trying to think of good examples. I'm sure they're not, but, please in the comments give me better examples. That would be very much appreciated. Thank you. Anyway, graspability is the real relationship between the arena, and going back to my analogy, the cup is part of the arena, and the agency. It is a mutual shaping, and when that mutual shaping, that coupling occurs, you get affordances. That is another concept along with arena and agency that should be explained, but I'm going to leave that for another video. Hopefully you can get the idea. In this case, we can say that there is an affordance of graspability between the mug and me. Okay, hopefully that made some sort of sense. So let me just try to summarize this. Participatory knowing gives us affordances, and when that goes well, we have a sense of belonging, of attunement with our environment. Perspectival knowing selects from these affordances ones that are particularly relevant within your current loop and sculpts them so that you know which skills to apply and which skills to acquire. And it is that yields procedural knowing, and the procedural knowing trains skills that you can take into a particular cultural arena in which you can use language to make proposals. These proposals can then be stored as propositions. And that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you would like to see any more of these videos, please like and subscribe. Till next time, be well.